Welcome to the Sacred Ancestry Podcast, a show about discovering the true human potential. Let's dive deep into physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. I'm your host, Thomas Worm. I'm so excited for my guest today, Willow Merrit from Yeti Chocolates. Oh my gosh, a big role model of mine. I've seen her just crush life outside of fire, and I want to get her on the podcast to tell her story of that transition, that 1 second that you jumped from fire to your own business, and just introduce yourself, Willow, and tell us your story a little bit.
All right. Well, good afternoon. My name is Willow Merrit, and I'm a former wildland firefighter turned chocolatier, which I kind of got into chocolatiering or wildland firefighting back into it because of chocolatiering, because it allowed me to fight fire in the summer and make chocolates in the winter. So I kind of did that for about 10 years. And then it was always my passion. Chocolates have always been my passion. And so it's been one of those things that I've been on the fence about leaving Wildland Fire and going into chocolate making full time. But there's always been kind of barriers. It's like having everything kind of line up perfectly and changing focus. For a while I wanted to start my own brick and mortar, and then I realized that the financial investment was just more than I really wanted to take on. And so the opportunity kind of presented itself in 2017. I did 2 fire seasons back to back. I went and worked in Asheville on the hot shot crew down there for the winter, and then I came back and worked in the Tetons and got the financial stability to feel like I could make the leap. And then the other part was just finding the space that I work out of now, and it just kind of all fell into place and lined up. And so I got done at the end of the 2017 season and just decided to take the leap. And so I resigned in 2018, and Yeti Chocolates was officially established in late January of 2018, and it's been going strong ever since.
Yeah, I'm just so blown away by your transition, because it was like I remember one time at the bunkhouse you brought out these like chocolate covered kicks, and everybody was just amazed, like, what, you're doing chocolates? Like, I had no idea. And then to see you, like, your presence on Instagram and Facebook, and like Yeti Chocolates is huge. Like, you're doing amazing, and it's just so inspiring, because I think there's so many people within the agencies, all of them that are in Wildland Fire, that look at that and say like, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could just leave. I wish I could change my life. Because for me, like 5-7 years in Wildland Fire is awesome. Like, hell yeah. But maybe that 10-year mark, people start to get burned out, start kind of get grinding down, and then a lot of people get stuck. It's that permanent carrot that's always there. Like, oh, I got this permanent job, but really, most people just want to jump. And it's so inspiring to meet somebody, or to see somebody that I know personally do it and be super successful. So thank you for that, Merritt.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm curious on, like, what was that exact moment of jumping for you? Like, what was that like? Like, was it stressful? Was there like a little like anxious? What was that moment of like, okay, I'm gonna resign? Like, you're walking into the office, like, I'm resigning today.
So it was kind of funny because I ended up doing it over the phone. Like I worked in the Tetons in the summer, and then I lived in Washington in the wintertime. And so I was at home, and yeah, the whole host of emotions. I mean, it's a very terrifying feeling going from like having a steady paycheck to being like, I don't know when I'm going to have a paycheck next, or if I'm going to have a paycheck. And, then there's that. I know for a lot of people, the biggest hurdle is the fact that health insurance is tied to your employment. And so, you're giving that up going on your own. And so, yeah, there's a lot of factors on. For me personally, I didn't have dependents. It was just me. So I felt like I could take that leap, and then just having the AD life on the side as a backup, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to really make a salary and pay myself to start. They say it takes about a few years before you can really start paying yourself. But I mean, it was terrifying. I mean, let's be honest. It's terrifying to say I'm going to leave something that's comfortable and stable to something that's just super unpredictable. But it was funny. I was in the process of, calling my old boss and telling him that I was going to resign, and I wrote up the letter, and then he ended up calling me to check in and see how things were going, cuz I was very upfront that I was thinking about leaving when I left in the fall. And so he had just by chance called me about, at the same time that I was thinking of calling him. So it was just very, I guess, serendipitous that he called, and I just was like, Jim, it's time. I have to put in my letter of resignation. And it had nothing to do with them. It had nothing to do with the job. I loved my job. I loved the crew. I loved working in fire, but you do start to get a little bit jaded, and you start to get burnt out, and I needed a change. And there are so many people that I know that are just like, they feel stuck because they feel like, because of the benefits, because of, they have nothing else that they feel like they can do, or they just don't know where to start. They just stay forever, and we just feel like you're a lifer. And I didn't want to look back in 20 years and go, I wonder if I could do this, or could I have done it? I wanted to be like, okay, I did it. I have 3 years to see whether this is going to work or not, with rehire rights. And then if it doesn't work, at least I gave it a shot. But if it does work, then I'm living the dream. And so, yeah, that's basically kind of how it went.
That's so awesome. And I just left last week, and it was kind of the same thing of like, okay, I got to walk in there, I got to keep a straight face, and I'm resigning right now, and it didn't go down like that. It was very peaceful and nice and comfortable, but it was like I had to really take charge of that moment. And it's so interesting because this summer, my roommate, I was on a detail. My roommate told me, like, we're talking for a couple hours. I was like, I've been waffling on this for like probably 3 or 4 years. And he's like, man, I don't know if that's a good job to be waffling in. I was like, that really struck me this summer. I was like, oh yeah, I shouldn't be like, you should not be in the wildland fire environment if you're kind of waffling off if you want to be there or not. And it was just like, that was it. That was like, I'm out, man. Like, as much as I love fire and I love the brotherhood and the sisterhood, and like I love the environment, it's just time. Like you said, my passion is different now. I'm healing people. I'm helping them mentally and emotionally now, and it's just so fulfilling to have that business that can sustain you. It's just like I jumped and I did it. Like I actually jumped and did it. And so it's like, I love your story. It's so compelling that, all the wildland firefighters out there listening, it's like, you can, if you think you want to jump, make a plan, strategize, you can do it.
Totally. I totally agree. I mean, I think that I kind of feel like you only have one life, and you spend most of your time working. So I mean, and it's funny because I've had people say, like, you should never go into business doing something you're passionate about. And I totally 100% disagree. I think that you spend so much of your life working, you should really really enjoy what you're doing. And that's what, like, I tell people all the time, I have not regretted my decision to resign for a moment. Like, I love going to work every day. And it's funny cuz I just did an interview last weekend, and they asked, like, what's been the most difficult thing about running your own business. And it's like, or what didn't you expect? And it's like, that it's this hard. Like, running your own business is so hard. I mean, I won't sugarcoat it. It's very difficult because when you're just getting started, I don't have employees, so everything with the business is me. I'm the chocolatier, I'm the marketer, I'm the salesperson, I'm the shipper, I'm the tax prep. I mean, I um I have somebody do my taxes, but that's about it. And then I have friends that come help me here and there, um but for the most part, like, it's all me. And so it's super super hard, but at the same time, I wouldn't change it for a second. Like, I love what I do. I love going to work every day. I love making chocolate, and I love seeing the joy that I bring to people every day with something that I create with my hands. Like, it's so satisfying, it's so fulfilling. And so I think that, everybody out there that's just on the fence, like, they have an idea, but they just are scared or are on the fence, don't know whether it'll work or not, like, you just got to go for it because it's not worth being in a job that you're starting to slowly get jaded or like find less fulfillment in.
Yeah, so true. And oh my gosh, yeah, it's like that moment of passion. Like for me, I guess like Friday evening, I'm getting off work and I love my work. I love what I'm doing. But it's kind of like Friday night, I'm like there's a pinch of me that's like, oh, I wish it was Monday morning right now because I'm so enthralled with what I'm doing now. Like it's like running your own business is amazing, and I 100% agree with you. It's like my business is mostly services. Like I put out a lot of content, like writing, but I'm not making something with my hands necessarily. And so I can't even imagine like everything that I do from the advertising to the copywriting to the website, like everything that I have going on, it's like it's on me and it's so hard. I totally agree. And I can't even imagine the next level of having a product that you're making. Like that is so amazing that you're doing that all by yourself. Like, oh my gosh, that's just a whole nother level, and it's so inspiring to hear somebody that's just doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's inspiring. I have a whole bunch of people, they weren't in fire, but they're starting their own business. And so it's nice to have this community of folks that are, entrepreneurs just trying to make it work in this valley. And everybody has a story, and it's super inspiring to see people just like trying to make a living off of, their craft, and they're all very inspiring. I find anybody who, has the gumption and the grit to start their own business, like kudos, because it's super fulfilling, even if it is incredibly difficult at times.
Yeah, entrepreneurship is just, for me, I was like, well, I don't have a website. I guess I'll build one. Like, I have no idea anything about a website or about advertising or like, oh my gosh, there's so much to owning your business that it's like, for me, it's like you're going to school, but you're earning money while you're doing it, hopefully, right? And
Totally.
and it's just like every day I'm learning something new that's like, and someday, right now is not the time, but in the future I really want to hire people to do all the stuff that I don't want to do, like all the technical computer stuff is like, man, I just want to go out there and do breakthrough sessions with people. All this stuff is really hard, but it is so worth it. It's so fulfilling, and so I still love doing it. And I really want to turn a little bit and focus on like the chocolates and like where you're located and like what exactly is Yeti Chocolates.
Sure. Okay. So, I'm currently located, I mean, I'll say my business is located in Rock Island, Washington, but most people don't know where that is. So I'm I live in Wenatchee, so north central Washington, and Yeti Chocolates. It was an idea I came up with actually in 2006. So there's no association with Yeti coolers. It just happens to be a coincidence. A lot of people ask how I got my name, and it's essentially I was in college and I was taking a ceramics class, and we had to do a shoe and something else. And so I did a snowboarding boot with a Yeti popping out the top. And so when I was trying to come up with my name, my partner at the time was like, you should come up with something mythical like Kraken chocolates. And I thought of that sculpture, which I still own. And so I was like, it's Yeti. So that's kind of how the name came about. But essentially, what I like to say to people about Yeti chocolates is I make edible art. So I make visually stunning chocolate pieces that taste as good as they look. I work really hard to make really uh, like chocolates packed with a lot of flavor. I want people to know exactly what they're eating when they try it. And I try to make the outside correspond with what's inside. So I make a lime chocolate. And so it's this lime green outside. And then it's like, it makes you pucker. It's got this like punchy, limey flavor. And so um, I try to use as many organically, sourced ingredients. I'm working with a lot of local people to use a lot of local ingredients, which has been really awesome to make that transition. because that's super important to me. My chocolates have no preservatives in them, so they have a shorter shelf life, but I think it creates a far superior product. And they're seasonally offered. So every 3 months, the menu changes. And then I offer some specialty pieces in the holiday season, Valentine's Day. And then I like to play around with different new flavors. So some like Mother's Day, I offered some new flavors that I just kind of developed, and I'll develop a flavor, and I have the subscription service that I do now, so you can get chocolates delivered to your door every month. And so I usually, if I'm making like test batching something new, those subscribers get those pieces, and I don't sell them to the public as just like a little extra incentive to be signed up with the subscription service. So but, yeah, I mean, it's just Yeti Chocolates is, it's just artisan chocolates, small batch, and, visually stunning.
Yeah, and I've personally ordered your chocolates before because I was so interested and I was like blown away. The ingredients are off the charts, perfect. Of everything's organic, local. The taste was amazing, and the like you said exactly, they're so beautiful. It's like you really are a chocolatier. It's not just a chocolate. Like this is edible art. I love that. I love that the way you describe that. And for anybody listening, like you got to go check out Yeti Chocolates because it's so like it's just the best chocolates I think I've ever had, honestly. And what's so cool is that you're also shipping online, so it's not like you have to be in Wenatchee to find this. You can order online, right?
Yeah, totally. So that was the one thing that, with everything that's going on right now, it was pretty easy for me to pivot because you were talking earlier about like I don't have a website. I need to build a website. And that was, for me, that was the starting point. Like I started building my website right away because of the fact that I've bounced around. Like I've been making chocolates for 14 years now. And so I've bounced around from place to place with my fire career. And so I've had people try my stuff along the way. So I've kind of started already like building a following. And so I wanted people to be able to purchase my chocolates, even if they didn't live in the area. So I had the website already built. It was just kind of like I get an order here and there, and then once the pandemic really got into full swing, all of my retail sales just pretty much dropped off. All my wholesale just went to zero, pretty much. But my online sales just like went through the roof, and I tried to make incentives. Like I'm doing a pay it forward rewards program right now, so if you send chocolates to somebody else, you get $5 off and your next order. And I did a free delivery within this area for like my loyal customers, so that they could still get chocolates but not have to expose themselves. And but yeah, I mean, anywhere within the United States, I'm of hopefully eventually maybe going to expand to like Canada. But it's international shipping gets a lot more complicated.
Right, right. Oh, that's so awesome, and I can't wait to order some chocolates. Like I really want some right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, holiday pre-orders are happening right now. That's something I added this year, just because I don't know how much, I just with everything going on, I don't know how much direct sales I'm going to have this year, and so I'm just trying to give people the opportunity to order ahead if they want to get their holiday chocolates, because this is the trickiest time of year for me because like I said earlier, I don't use preservatives, so my chocolates have a shorter shelf life. There's so many people that are like, I want to do all my holiday shopping right now, and I don't offer my chocolates for the holidays until basically the end of November. And so I'm just trying to give people the opportunity to order ahead. And then I'll ship them once they're ready to go.
Oh,
So,
that's brilliant. That's so awesome. And just the fact that your chocolates have a shelf life, like that's so different from, we go to the grocery store or Whole Foods or whatever, and it's like that chocolate's been there for months and months. Like this is the real deal.
right? It's funny. It's funny how many people struggle with that. I have a client who's like their employee who kind of runs I have this winery they run their tasting room, and every time I bring the chocolates, she's like, "So, how long do we have?" And I tell her, and she's like, "Well, we'll see." And it's like, "Well, I don't really know what to tell you. That these aren't, like I would rather have chocolates that expire. I mean, you can eat them longer. I've had people like, Bill Mo. I had he got some chocolates from Mary, and he waited like 4 or 5 months, and I talked to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I guess I still have those. I should eat them." And I was like, "Bill Mo, please don't eat them." And he did, and they were fine. But, like, I would prefer you not to wait 4 or 5 months before you eat them.
And so, how long do the chocolates last?
So it depends. Like the cream ganache truffles that I make have about a 5 week shelf life. Butter ganache, you've got about a month or a week or two later than the cream ganache, and then like caramels and the peanut butter and almond butter cups, you have more like 3 to 6 months. So, and then like I do marshmallows, and I give them about a 3 month, and then you've got like my chocolate bars. Chocolate bars, I do about 8 months to a year, because I mean, there's nothing really. I mean, I have this, except for a couple. Like I do a bacon chocolate bar, and I only give it a couple months just because of the bacon starts to get the Maillard browning that's just undesirable after a while. It just doesn't look very good. And then I do a ginger, so I make my own candied ginger, and then I sprinkle it on the back of the chocolate bar, and the ginger starts to get pretty hard after a while, so I only give it a couple months. But so yeah, it kind of varies, but 5 weeks is about um, the length of shelf life for them, which is funny because there's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, that's a long time," but there's chocolates out there that like you can add certain preservatives that'll give it like a shelf life of over a year, but I just don't think that they taste as good.
Right. And I don't know how anybody holds on to chocolate for 5 weeks. Like mine's gone in 5 minutes probably. Like I'm such a chocolate addict that it's to me it's almost as it's powerful. Like it changes your whole mood. It changes like the whole experience. Like you're saying, having a wine tasting with chocolate, I can see how that changes the whole atmosphere of the room, right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Wine and chocolate tastings are super fun. Um, I'll do some like small friend tasting parties sometimes, and it's a lot of fun. Just get your glass of wine and your chocolates. I did an event this summer in Quincy with a new winery that I'm working with, and it was super fun just to see people's reactions and how, I left it up to the winemakers to pair, for them to try the chocolates with the wines, because at the end of the day, I wanted them to be happy with, like, it's not necessarily my preference on which chocolates go with which wines. They're it's their wine. I want the chocolate to pair well with the wine. And so, but it was really fun to watch people, try the wine and the chocolate together, and just the reactions, and everybody had a really great time. So it's super fun. It's hard because, there's all these people that say like, you're going to have to transition out of making chocolates and being the face of the business, and I don't want to do that. I didn't go into business because I wanted to run a company. I went into business because I love making chocolates. So, but I do enjoy doing events. It's really fun, the interaction. I love to share my passion. But at the end of the day, like, I don't ever want to leave the kitchen. Like, that's not. Um, I feel like if I get to that point, then maybe I need to figure out what to do with my life.
Yeah, yeah, I can feel that too because I think if I was ever in the position like, oh, you shouldn't be doing breakthrough sessions, you should be with all the company stuff. It's like no way. That's what I want to be doing is being with the people and oh, I can totally tell. Like I agree with you so much in my own business and I'm curious. I'm like, how did this start with chocolate? How did you get started making it? Like, where did you learn? Like, where like obviously you're obsessed with chocolate. I'm just gonna assume that, right? And like, where did that start? Where did that happen? Like, tell us that journey.
Sure, sure. So, I've always been kind of interested in chocolate. My mom was a really good baker, and she used to make Christmas cookies and almond roca, and she used to do these like townhouse crackers with peanut butter, and then she'd dip them in almond bark, which is like this like low quality chocolate coating that you can get. You don't have to temper it, which is a whole nother discussion. But anyways, but it's it's just this easy chocolate dipping coating for the home confectioner. And so we used to do stuff together when I was a kid, so I kind of had my inspiration from my mom. And then I went to college, and when I was in college I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And so I just decided that I really loved baking, and I loved working with my hands, and I loved bringing people joy with things that I made. And so I was like, I think that I need to go to culinary school. And so I actually got into fire back in college. That's where I got the introduction into Wildland Fire, because I was a, we had a program where I was back home where you could fight fire in the summer, and then if you had good grades in college, you could take your get your job back every summer. And so I did that for the first 3 years of college, and then I left. And then I went and I worked as a cake decorator at Safeway, and so I did some cake decorating for a while, and then I went to culinary school, and I got the foundation of what I do now. But what I do now was only a week's worth of class. So when I left, I worked in the restaurant industry for a while and hated it, and just decided that chocolate was kind of where I wanted to, shift my focus. So when I made that decision, that was kind of when I decided to go back to fire because of the whole fire in the summer, chocolates in the winter. And so that was kind of how that all came about. But a lot of how I got to where I am now with chocolates was just a lot of um, trial and error, reading a lot of books. There was this, the one thing that I can say, working in the restaurant industry, one of my old bosses got me tuned into this forum called Eaglet, and it's just like bunches of threads of people in all sorts of culinary, but there's a specific pastry and baking thread. And so I just started scouring and reading all of those threads and learning from the people on there. And so yeah, that's kind of how it all came about. And I love chocolate just because it's challenging. It's probably one of the most finicky mediums you can ever work with, because it's sensitive to heat, obviously it's sensitive to humidity. But it's just super rewarding when you have a chocolate mold and you flip it over and the pieces just fall out and they're super shiny, and the flavors just perfect. It just kind of like is super rewarding, and it's just the artistry that you can take with it is, it's just, you can be super creative with it and just how you decorate things, but also how with the flavors, the flavor combinations, and just coming up with new ideas. And yeah, it's just, it keeps me. I mean, the one thing that I have learned in my life is that I'm not. If I start doing the same thing over and over again, I like to say I start to stagnate, and then I start hating what I do. I think that that's the reason why I enjoyed fire so much. Is for the most part, you don't stagnate. Like, you're doing different things all the time for the most part. And that's what I found exciting about that job. And that's what I find exciting about what I do now, is that there's always something different. And that's why I do my chocolates on a rotating schedule. It keeps me interested. It also keeps people coming back because things change, So it's like, oh, I really love that flavor, but oh, she's got new stuff. Let's check this out. And then it keeps people coming back too, because it's like, oh, I really need to remember that this is when these chocolates are available because they're my favorite kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, that's basically kind of how the evolution of how I got to where I am.
Oh, that's so awesome. And do you eat chocolate like every day? Because if it was me, I would just be eating chocolate all day while I'm making it, right?
Yeah. So it's funny because when I'm at the market, and people find out that I'm the chocolatier, one of the first things that they say is, I don't know how you're not 500 pounds because I'd be eating chocolate all the time. And, there's that old adage, you don't get high on your own supply. Well, you don't, once you start trying to make a living off of something, you don't partake as much as you probably would before. I mean, I do eat chocolate pretty much every day. I'll snack on a little nibble of chocolate, and I always have to try to everything that I make just to make sure that it's good, because there was one time I make a cinnamon chipotle chocolate and I accidentally added Thai chili instead of chipotle, and it was terrible, and I'm so glad that I got it because I had to throw out the whole batch.
Oh,
But so there's just sometimes you those things happen. But yeah, I mean, I'm always trying things to make sure that they taste good, and I'll sample things here and there, but I'm not 500 pounds, so I do not partake as much as maybe others might.
so where do you source your chocolate? Like, where is the actual cocoa, or however you want to describe it? Because you're the chocolatier. Where does that come from?
So the cacao, so I source the main type of chocolate that I use is, so there's different types of chocolate. There's the bean to bar manufacturers. I am not one of those. I'm a confectioner, so I get my chocolate already made for the most part. The company that I use the most is Guittard. They are a family owned company. They've been in business for 150 years. They're based in the San Francisco area, and they are Fair Trade and Forest Alliance partners. And they kind of source their cacao from a whole bunch of different regions, but a lot of South America, some African, some Hawaiian. Um, so it kind of varies, but I feel comfortable with the fact that because they're fair trade, I am not as worried about the issues that are coming about with West African child labor that some of the other cacao companies have been starting to, we've been starting to discover. The other, I just started using another brand of cacao and chocolate. I'm collaborating with a company in that's based in Ecuador. I mean, the founder here is here in the States, but she basically sources all of her cacao from Ecuador and Ecuadorian farmers, and it's called Connexion, and I'm using it for a apothecary here in town, making specialty bars for them. So those are kind of the two big brands that I'm using right now. And then I use some Valrhona, which is a French company that's super well known. It's probably some of the most expensive chocolate that you can buy. Um, and if you're into chocolate, you should know that name pretty well. And then Cacao Berry is another brand that I kind of use as well. So different. And then, that's the hard part, is that a lot of the cacao, unless you're doing single origin stuff, a lot of it's blended. So that, the cacao comes from a lot of different regions, but mostly South American, I think, is where most of the cacao gets sourced.
That's awesome. And where can people find Yeti chocolates, and how can they get a hold of you and all that?
Oh, yeah. So, you can order online, so yetichocolates.com. If you are local within North Central Washington, there are quite a few businesses in Wenatchee, a couple wineries in Chelan and Manson, Quincy, Leavenworth. I would say the easiest way would just be to go onto the website, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, there's a link for where to buy. Actually, I think I moved it. I think it's at the top now. So at the top it says where to buy, and it kind of gives you all the different places that the chocolates are available right now. But the easiest is to just go to yetichocolates.com. You can also contact me directly. My email is info at yetichocolates.com. And then my phone number. Should I give my phone number?
Maybe not.
Yeah, probably not. But you can find it on the website if you're really into uh, trying to get a hold of me. So, and then I'm also, as Tom mentioned, on the socials. So, my Instagram is at Yeti Chocolates, and then I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/Yeti Chocolates.
Nice, awesome. Is there any questions I didn't ask that you want to talk about? Is there anything else you want to talk about that we haven't yet?
Um, I don't. I mean, not off the top of my head. I feel like we kind of covered everything. I mean, I guess the one thing that I would say is just, um, you know, going back to the whole fire thing, just some things that I personally, I don't know about you, Tom, but the things that kind of translate, from fire to running your own business is just like the grit that you have to have. I remember one of the guys I used to work with on Asheville called it miserable fun, or some other friends of mine calling it embrace the suck, so there's a lot of things that are like, "Ugh, I don't want it to do this, but I have to do this because it's part of your job." And so having that in your toolbox makes doing things as a business owner a lot easier. Also, just like working super long hours has translated really well because, like, so this is my busy season, and I like to call it my chocolate fire season. So I pretty much don't take a day off starting November 1st until Christmas, and I work on average at least 10 hours a day or more. So, so just having that, there's a lot of things that I feel like in fire really translate over to running your own business. And just like, I haven't gotten to the whole employee thing yet, but the delegation and leader's intent, and just like uh, duty, integrity, respect, all those things I feel like are going to translate over really, really well when I get into that point where I start to hire employees, because I'm on the cusp. I'm experiencing growing pains right now, and I'm in the process of trying to purchase some larger production equipment to facilitate that growth so that I can actually hire somebody to kind of take over the sales and marketing side of the business. But just having those things in the toolbox really, I really don't regret my fire career at all, and I feel like it's really helped me become a better entrepreneur. So that's I guess the only other thing I thought about that may be helpful for others.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think for me, it's like there's like I've been working so hard the last couple years, and then like COVID hit. Like I had this whole system built up, and COVID hit. My business just had to change, and so it's like your whole division just got burned over. Now what?
Right.
And it's like we have that flexibility from being firefighters. Like, okay, well, the environment changed, and now we're going to adapt and we're going to overcome it. That's easy. It's just like put your head down and work. And I think that like you're right, this fire mentality translates so well to entrepreneurship. So everybody out there listening, it's like, I think there's a lot of that. There's that attitude out there, like, well, I'm just a firefighter. I've heard that more than once for sure. That it's like, well, we're just firefighters. We're not good at math because we're firefighters. Like, no, you're like a very professional, skilled human being that can take these skills and adapt them. Because I feel like that's what we're the best at, is like adapting to the situation and overcoming. That's what we do.
I totally agree. And it's really funny because I remember in the spring when, COVID hit, and at first, everything was kind of locked down here in Washington, and, people were just like freaking out, and like it was kind of chaotic, and I was not feeling super stressed out about it. And it was kind of weird because I was like, why don't I feel more like apprehensive or stressed out? Or but I think that it's just that whole like, well, here we are. There's really no need to panic. I'm just going to figure out the best way to pivot and adapt and overcome, and just change focus, and you know um, I wanted there's a saying that, I'm not gonna say 'cause it has a cuss word in it, but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where you just kind of like because we have the ability to work in such a diverse environment and fire, and you have to, like, things change constantly, and so it's just kind of like you just kinda roll with it. You just like, "Well, here we are, things are different, and I'm not going to freak out about this. I'm just going to figure out the best way to overcome the situation and move forward." And so, yeah, I think that you're right about that, about the whole COVID thing. So, thanks for that. That all kind of came into place.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome, and thank you so much for coming on. And I'm feeling really complete. Do you have anything else before we end the show?
No, I just want to thank you, Tom, for allowing me to come on and kind of tell my story. And I hopefully will, inspire somebody else who's just kind of on the fence to be like, I can do this. And it's a little bit scary, but it's totally worth it. So if you're thinking about making that transition, do it. Just
Here, yeah,
just do
just
it.
do it, right?
Yeah.
And here's what it came down for me. I was like, well, I've been waffling. I'm a waffle. There's only two good things that a waffle is good at, right? And that's getting like out of the waffle maker or getting eaten. I was like, well, shit. I think I'm gonna get out of the waffle maker because I'm not getting eaten by a fire, right?
Totally. Exactly. Yeah. So
Yep, that was me. And
Oh,
um,
I love it.
thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And you're welcome anytime you want to do any promotions, anything with the podcast. You're always welcome. So I'm glad you came on, and we'll talk soon. And to all the listeners out there, you got to go check out YetiChocolates.com, and it's just another way for you to find your sacred ancestry through the chocolate.
I love it. Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate your time.